the cloud. Okay, so getting back to this, a long example. We jumped into this almost immediately when class started, and it's a two-break kind of day. So we got our insert queries to run, but you notice there before what happens when we're working SQL into PHP. We had to track down the problem with no error messages and kind of do a workaround way to get just to see an error message and start trying to track down problems. It took a little bit of effort when things get wrong, so just be slow and careful. But we got data into the database. So our script works that way, and it's a machine. It's going to do that every time. Now that it works, we know it's going to work. So we need to get data back from the database as well. So that's our next step. And our database, well, it organized, what we're looking for is a repeat order button. So we need a way to get this order back to our form, all the previous orders. So we need our email to refer to things. So what I was thinking for that, until we get to logins next week, we can just put like a half login thing, something where people can enter their email address and click a button here on the form, here on the home page. It'll give us an alternative way to get to the order form, which then needs to be a PHP script. So I'm going to start by changing that order form, which is currently HTML. Right? We can't do any scripting. So from the order form, if it's an HTML file, we can't really bring in, we can't connect to the database with a PHP script. So I'm going to open that and just change the type. I'm going to go to save as, and instead of order.html, I'm going to make it order.php. And then
does it make any difference if you change that drop down box as long as you put .php?
The drop down box would automatically type .php for us.
Okay.
So the reason I type .php is because it's a really long list. If you went save as and just had order there and change that, you could dig through the list and it would type PHP for you. So the drop down box just automatically adds the extension. But like in Notepad++, it's a really, really long list of extensions that it knows. So it can take a minute to dig through there. So if I know what it is, I usually just type it in. But two ways to do the same thing. So now this is a PHP script, so we can run scripts, right? We can do that thing we put everywhere, the require or include, and I like to use the once option, but bring in that library of all the just general code we'll need. The same line we have typed on every single one, because one of the things in that library is the connection details, so we'll definitely need that. And now we can go to this order form as a PHP script so that it'll run any scripting before sending the rest of the HTML to the website. So we can do things like connect to the database and pass in an email. So on the index page, I'm just going to add a simple form to connect to that. So after the paragraph, I'll add a form element, method equals post, action equals order.php. So whenever the submit button on this form is clicked, it's going to run that order.php script, which is mostly just a web page. We're just going to grab some stuff from a database to intermingle with our PHP code. And we don't need much here, just an input tag to accept the person's email, because this is just a temporary workaround until we've seen login. next week we'll see actual proper, have the users log in to their account. Input type equals email. Name equals email. I guess that's all we need there. And then a submit button. Value equals value equals previous order. Maybe see previous order. Something useful on the button. So I'm going to have the button, just a regular submit button, that the words on it are going to say see previous order. Orders, see previous orders, and that way the user can go in if they want to see that. So first thing, reload this. We have that button, so our original order link should still work. Oh, wait, that's going to be a problem. We don't want to go to the order form, right? We want to go to order.php now. So that actually needs changed in all of our things. So I'm going to copy that and go to the link on every single page. This is a spot where the object-oriented one would come in nice, right? Or the one we'll see next week. So we don't have to copy and paste this. Did I miss any pages? Oh, review page. Our review page also has links on it, which if we were using the object-oriented one, we would only have to change that once. So now, on the index page, I'll reload that. Okay, order, yeah, we go to the order.php page, or if we submit this, we also get to that order.php page. So there's alternative ways to get there, which means that email value might not be set when we get there, right? Passing in the select query was fairly straightforward. I wanted to cover a couple other things like this, and that's one of them. Well, if we come here from the address, from the nav bar, if they click the link, then that email thing won't be set. But if they come here from entering their email and hitting that submit button, there will be an email thing. So we'll need to check that when we put together a PHP script here. So I'll put the PHP script right above that form, and that way we can access all the stuff and then bring it back. Or if you like the object-oriented one, you could do it right above, before you read the form, or right after you form, and concatenate it together with the string that you get back from that text file. So there could be slight variances, but it just needs to be put back together with that form in some way that's going to go there. So here in the original way we were looking at, the non-object oriented thing, I want it to be right above the form, so I need to put it right there above the form. And that email thing might not be set, right? So we need to check that. And we've seen how, right? So if is set the post array will hopefully have something called in it called email. And if that value is set, then we can query database. And if it's not set, well, we don't necessarily need to worry about that, any repeat orders, right? So if you're building it up with the object-oriented one and concatenating strings together, if you probably might want to put an else block here that puts together an empty string that you can concatenate with that other one. So that if we query the database, we put together a big string and concatenate it. But our final instruction is going to be to concatenate those strings together. The string from the database and the string from the form. And you might want an else in order to have an empty string so that you can concatenate. That concatenate thing doesn't cause issues. But we will definitely want to check and make sure the email is set. If there is, then we can connect the database just like we saw before. So if it is set, well, I'm making an object called DB. Then there'll be a new MySQLi object. And then we pass in our parameters, which are stored in our library. We already have them brought in, so we have those constants, the DB host, DB user, DB password, and DB name. So all the stuff to connect to our database. And then we can run a select all query. So I'll just call it that. I'll just call it select query. And we basically want that whole order, right? We want everything but order ID, so might as well just grab the whole thing. Select everything from orders. But we don't want the whole table. We only want this user's email, right? So I'll go ahead and.
So where the email equals what
yes.
has been put in.
Yeah, where email equals, and we could store it somewhere, but I didn't store it, and we haven't really seen this anywhere. That what's in the post array. Usually we store that somewhere just to make it easier to work with. It's kind of like JavaScript, all that document.getElement by ID. We could type that everywhere, but that's kind of a pain to type everywhere. So we normally store it in a variable just to make it easier to refer to it. We can refer to it straight in that array it's coming in. So I'm just going to do that here. So we want to select everything from whatever that email is.
Okay, and wait a minute. Right inside our first quote mark, there is a dot before the $sign.
Yes, that's the word wrapping. Let me turn off word wrap. So it is concatenated in there.
Okay, that's right. Because and then we concatenate the term. Okay, that's concatenating into the string that we type in. Okay, I get you.
But then we have a little more concatenation to do. So concatenate with SQL wants a semicolon. We concatenate on a semicolon at the end, and then our PHP semicolon.
Okay, so we're just basically all we're doing is recreating what we would have typed in MySQL. Is all we're doing. We're just taking the MySQL statement and stick it in that line.
Yeah, the select ones are a little bit easier than the insert ones. The insert ones can be a beast to build up. You all saw that in the last on the last one. So slowly and carefully, anyway, just maybe echo it back to check it. But we're running short on time, so skipping over the echoing to double check it. I'm gonna go ahead and run that the same way.
And then we go.
So our DB object has something called query, and it's expecting a parameter, so we can send as an argument that select query we just brought in, which does give us results. We didn't, the results from our insert query earlier would just be the number of rows affected. But a select query has a lot of results, right? So let's put those somewhere called results instead of just ignoring what comes back this time. And now is the standard way to check this, what we normally do, what the book does, we look to see if results is bigger than 0. Results, num rows, bigger than 0. That's what the textbook put in it. Let me open my example from the other
Is
day.
that where you had seen when you were checking it and then it said results 0 and how long it took, like how many seconds it took to run? Is that where you're looking for? Okay.
Yeah, it's that one. So yeah, that's what we get back. So we just basically just check that every time. Yeah, that's not good. I don't need to bring up the other one. We're running short on time. So we just check to see if there's anything there. So if results, and then like Tiff kind of pointed out, there's a bunch of parts to that results, right? One of those parts is num rows. It's built in. If results, the number of rows in results is bigger than 0. And this is the way our book likes to do it. So if it is, then we want to loop through all of them. If it's not, we could send a message or say something saying we couldn't find anything. I'm just going to skip the else part. So if results are bigger than 0, which means we have something there, we'll run a while loop. I prefer for each loop, but our textbook uses a while loop every time. So I'll do it like the textbook because that's the reference material you have ready at hand, right? And our condition here is something we have seen. Normally, we look for true or false in a condition, right? So it's going to run while whatever we put in there is true. But there's other things that true false doesn't seem to be the right word on. One of those being success or failure. So success counts as true and failure counts as false. So we can put just a normal statement in there, and if it runs successfully, it will count as true. So the standard way to do that with MySQL is to assign what's in results to a variable called row, or an array called row. So while row is equal to what's in the results coming back from the query, fetch associative. And it's abbreviated. Fetch ASSOC.
Fetch.
Whew.
My brain is going to explode.
We'll get it. We'll get it once we start using it.
Yeah, this is pretty much, and then now we have the results as an associative array. So let's echo back row. What's the field we have in there? We have row, the message field, right? So in that row array that we grabbed from the results, all of this is exactly the same. So once you type it once, you can copy and paste it forever. Then we have those field names from our database table as associative indices in that array. And we can build up strings from those. So if I go to the home page and type in some email, sally@here.com, because I made up a test user to make sure I knew what emails and stuff there was going to be. See previous order. Uh-oh. Must have got a typo somewhere. Where's my errors? Yes, reload that. Trying to get property num rows of non-object. I'm going to look back at the example and see if I made a typo here somewhere. What I did the other before class. This one. If result num rows bigger than 0. I type something different here. Oh, no, that's results num rows This is 0. What's that error message say? On line 40, this line.
I think I seen one has result and one has results. Is that
Yeah, that's just an arbitrary name. So
okay?
It should be what I called it. If I change this to result, I should be able to copy from the other one. Because I don't see an error there. So if result, the number of rows are bigger than run that while loop. And yeah, it's always exactly the same. So once you have it once, you'll be able to just copy and paste it. Let's see if it likes that better. Go back to the home page, enter Sally's email. DB is a new MySQL. I'm going to select query. I guess I do need to check that. Echo select query. And then
Well, you're typing. You got a typo there, boss, on your echo select query.
Thank you. So now if I go home, if we're gonna run that timer. Oh, I do see a problem. Anybody see the problem? You see this problem, Joe? There's a typo.
Orders, where? Email.
Email is a string.
Right.
Oh, wait.
So we got to have quote marks. So that's why it couldn't find anything, because there was nothing in there. There weren't any results. So trying to do something with them gave us a problem. So let's try that again. Reload.
When you get that fixed, we have to look again at where those extra quote marks went in, because that's going to get confusing as blank.
Undefined index on line 42. So I got further. So the quote marks went right here.
Okay. Before the entire post thing, and where did they end? At the right before the first of two semicolons.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically around that thing, and then the dots and quote marks, double quotes are concatenation.
Okay. So to make that easier, if we took that post dot email and turned it into like we did before, and turned it into a my brain just went.
Turn it into a string first.
Turn it into a string first. So that like we did with everything else, and that would maybe make that a little easier. But
we still have to pass in the quote marks. That's what happened over here as well on our insert query. Because remember, even though it's a string, PHP thinks it's a string, but MySQL wants us to actually put more quote marks on to say it's a string.
Okay.
So you'll have to, anytime you're sending strings to MySQL, you do have to put a string there. So I got this other error message. It went a little further, said undefined index. That means that our index from the array is no good. I typed a message. I don't think that's what it was. Oh, logo. So come over here. The column is called logo. So then that is the name. Whoops. That's the name of our index for that array. So if I go home, try the tally one, see previous orders. There we go. So we got what is stored in those things back. And now we just need to build up some sort of form, which we are very quickly running out of time for. My thought for the homework was to put in a radio thing, type equals radio, name equals concatenate in the row with order ID.
Oh God, there's too much
So this is
here.
looking a little bit messy, but we're down to like 3 minutes.
Well, it's just going to be messed up then, I guess, because it's going to be a mess.
So that looks familiar, right? Just an HTML input tag. And I just put the name as what's coming from the table. So we're getting that stuff back from the table as an associative array. So to help identify it, I put the order ID. And then on the next page, when we place the order, I use that order ID to refill all the variables instead of the post thing. Which we are kind of out of time, so I guess we'll have to finish this on Tuesday. Which means we might push that next week's homework back. But at this point, we have all our results from the array. So I'm just gonna take this out of here and concatenate string with row array. We know how to do that, right? All these elements in an array, we just concatenate together a string to echo back to our page.
Okay, so basically, each line of this is going to pick up one of the pieces of it, and then to concatenate on, just like we concatenated our strings for cupcakes and donuts and all that junk.
Yep. So like row the logo thing. Then a closing paragraph tag. Then echo a paragraph tag with the row array. What's another element we have in there? The clip. I'll just stick that in there. The clip field, then a closing paragraph tag. So you just want to do that, and we will finish up this example on Tuesday. We're out of time for today. Does that make sense? Just look kind of, we need to pass in an email, and then we use that to query stuff from our database. So there were 2 orders. So there's the first one, and there's the second one. So there's still a lot that needs to go into that string, but it is 4:50. So we are out of time for today. Does anybody have any questions?
Thanks,
I'm sure you do.
Chris.
Yes. So
and when we're concatenating, instead of fresh paragraph tag, we just put, if we need a line break, we can put line breaks in. And so otherwise this thing is going to string up the whole page just with all the junk. Because I know Becky's thing has got could have donuts and cupcakes and 60,000 things.
Let me show you what I did for that. If I pull up the practice run of that. That might help if I show you what I was trying to get here, since we ran out of time. I was really hoping it would fit here. So kind of same thing, pass in an email and we hit reorder. There's a radio button and then just a quick summary of it. So banana nut, oatmeal raisin, 2 chocolate, the color, and the donuts.
And then all you'd have to do is, if they click on either of those radio buttons, they reorder.
Yep. And then
And
that goes to it.
and if they don't order any, then it should run you back to the new order page.
Yeah. So the new order page is down here. And yeah, if they click on one of those and hit reorder, it goes to an exact copy of the confirm page. But the only difference is instead of grabbing stuff from the post array, it runs a select query with the order number from that radio button. So if I
Okay, now the only thing is that the date I want it is going to change.
Yeah, so that's why we have to query it from the database. So instead of getting it from the post array, we get it from the results query from the database. And then we, so like the input here,
yeah,
I use the order ID. Oh, wait, that's not the input, the radio button. Where's the radio button?
So if you can't find it, I know I can't.
Oh,
I see it on line 16.
You got some good eyes. Yeah, so our radio button.
Oh, wait a minute, no, that's on Blueberry and Banana. That's on the original.
Oh, it's up here. It's all in one line, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on line. I see line 8, I think.
I'll look at that in the inspector. It'll be a little bit clearer. So it's after 4:50. I'm going to kind of step through a couple things, but that'll be it for today. I will see you all on Tuesday, and we'll finish up this example. But you can start putting the assignment together, insert data, and kind of get that far, and then we'll finish up in a couple days. So here, where is it? I guess it's in here. This one. So I went to another form called repeat order that does the exact same thing. And the name, somehow, the value. I use the value as the order ID so that we can tell which one's being clicked. But we will see that on Tuesday and finish that up. If you want us to go ahead and start kind of getting the pages together and run those inserts and that basic select query, we'll pick up from there first thing on Tuesday.
All right, I'll go get my Excedrin and start working.
Any other questions? So also that's if you hadn't already guessed, that means that this assignment's probably going to be pushed back a couple days because I'm not going to make it due until we've covered it in class and had time to do it after covering it in class. But that'll get you a lot of the way through. So with that stuff, and you can see it takes a little bit of practice. Just go slowly and carefully with those things.
Yeah, Tim, July 15th, right? 2 months after the course is over. That might be about right.
It's an inside joke. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Joe has amazing eyes too, by the way.
See y'all on Tuesday.